Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 328. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Carrington Carter and Mr. Calvin Butts Jr., the founders of Getaway Society, a high-end vacation rental investment company. Now, we're going to talk about how these two millennial Black entrepreneurs turned their love for travel into a $5 million real estate portfolio and how they created a venture capital firm to help purchase more properties for their portfolio. Now, before we get to today's episode, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and my resource links, such as the link to my new book, A New Black Wall Street, and also two platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black community, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com. Also, don't forget to check out my new audio pod course titled The Blueprint, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. This pod course takes you from point A to point Z to be able to monetize your genius, which is the intersection of your passion and your talent. Now, I've partnered up with Himalaya Learning, so you can go to Himalaya.com/blueprint and use the coupon code Blueprint and get 14 days free in any other course on the platform. You have course producers such as Seth Godin, Tim Ferriss, and many others. Once again, go to Himalaya.com/blueprint, use the coupon code Blueprint, and get 14 days free on the platform and listen to any of the courses. Now, let's get ready for today's show. I am live with Mr. Carrington Carter, Mr. Calvin Butts Jr., founders of, well, you have several businesses, but we're going to talk about GetawaySociety.com first, and then we'll segue into some of your other businesses. Gentlemen, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. Glad to talk to you today.
Appreciate it.
Likewise.
You good over there, Brother Calvin?
Yes, sir. Good to see you, sir.
That's what's up. All right. So for my listeners, if you guys can take turns and just tell us a little bit about who you are personally, and then we'll go into your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Carrington Carter, reside in Columbus, Ohio, grew up in Dayton, Ohio, serial entrepreneur. Started actually my career in corporate America, pharmaceutical marketing, and then pivoted a couple of years ago into full-time real estate. So I've been a real estate investor and developer now almost for the last 10 years or so. So started with single-family rentals and then expanded aggressively into vacation rental homes, which I think we're going to talk quite a bit about here today. Also a co-founder along with my partner Calvin of East Chop Capital, a private equity firm. And excited to talk about that a little bit as well today. And my lovely wife, Kia, resides with me here in Columbus. I'm a proud Hampton University grad and very passionate and dedicated to promoting and giving back to HBCUs.
Well, Stephen, appreciate that, man. Brother Calvin, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Sure, no problem. Calvin L. Butts Jr., originally from Savannah, Georgia. Reside in Allentown, New Jersey. Hampton grad. Proud Hampton grad. Met my wife at Hampton, April. We have 3 kids, Carmen, Kalen, and CB3, Calvin Butts III. I'm in the pharmaceutical industry as well. Carrington have similar backgrounds in marketing and advertising, medical education, and very excited about what we have going on, and certainly eager to talk to you about it and share with you, a little bit about our journey and the success we're having.
Cool. And it's funny, when we talked before we got on the air, Calvin is not related to the Reverend Calvin Butts, so don't put all that, ask those questions in on social media. Nah, let me stop. But that was the first question I asked you, though. All right. So tell me a little bit about getawaysociety.com. What is it, and what was the concept or the impetus for you guys starting this? So if you can just share a little bit with that. I'll start off, Brother Calvin, if you want to start off.
Sure. No, it's exciting. So I met Carrington at a Hampton regional conference, and we were talking about our ventures and kind of what we're into and kind of what interests us. And real estate was kind of a common theme in that conversation. And so he asked me to meet him, I think 2012, October, at Hampton's homecoming. You can imagine on a Saturday morning, he's asked me to meet him for breakfast at 8 o'clock after partying Friday night. And so, I show up, and he's got this business plan about getting into vacation rental homes and creating this brand called Getaway Society, where he wants to establish a luxury brand of owned and operated homes. And I just said, wow, this is something unique. Him and I both had single family homes, and we're interested in expanding and, looking for additional revenue streams, and just trying to learn more about, different ways to be in real estate. And, his plan was to buy land in the Poconos and build a 6-bedroom house and rent it out weekly. And he can tell you more about his story and kind of why the Poconos and how we got there. But, we had this idea for this luxury owned and operated, travel company that had these homes and would build this kind of network of travelers and customers. And then we just started thinking, okay, where else can we go? Where else do people want to go? Where else people enjoy? And so, Getaway Society, I mean, it's, our tagline is, you work too hard not to get away. And, people are looking for breaks. I mean, especially in times like we're in now, a brand like Getaway Society provides, just amazing, luxury locations and, amazing homes that, folks can enjoy family time and just, relax in privacy. So we're excited about the Getaway Society brand, but I mean, Carrington's story about how he got here is amazing. I'll let him share that.
Okay. Brother Carrington, if you can add on to that, and what was the impetus behind the actual getawaysociety.com business?
Sure. So I lived in Jersey. This was probably about 6 years ago. So out on the East Coast. So every year, myself and a group of Hamptonians, as we're called, Hampton graduates, we would go skiing in the Poconos every President's Day weekend. And when it came, I think it was the 4th trip, it came time for me to plan the trip. So I found the house, picked the location, worked with the owner, collected everyone's money. And then when I realized we were paying this guy $3,500 to stay in his house for the weekend, I started running the numbers, and I said, next year, we're going to stay in our own house. Right. So I talked to Calvin, and this is when I, saw the viability of the vacation rental home space. So this is 2012, 2013. So companies like Airbnb and Vrbo, VRBO, HomeAway were popular, but certainly not as popular as they are now. So, but I saw the future. I saw where the trends were going, and people preferring to travel by renting out these large homes that they can share with friends, family, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters. I saw the future of travel. So built the house in the Poconos from the ground up, quickly expanded to Martha's Vineyard, Hilton Head, and I mentioned to you just before we started the call, I was in Gatlinburg yesterday. We're excited to expand to Gatlinburg and Orlando this year. So Great. It's an exciting time. There's a lot of opportunities we see with COVID-19 and the name Getaway Society. So obviously getaway comes from a vacation getaway. We all need those getaways, those breaks from reality and the chance to mentally and physically recharge. And society really conveys that community aspect, that group aspect. And we service over 2,000 customers every single year that are going through these houses in multiple locations, their guests, their family, and their friends. So, and we're growing. And we find people, reaching out to us quite frequently asking, do you have a house here? Do you have a house there? And what do you have available? So it's exciting times for us right now.
Now, that's an excellent concept. And we had spoken before off the air. My cousin was looking to do something like that with golf because he's an avid golfer and he always travels. And so he was talking about doing the same concept that you guys actually by himself as opposed to bringing in partners. But do you only focus on vacation areas or, high traffic areas, or are you able to go anywhere in terms of building your properties?
Well, yeah, so I'll jump in. So we have right now, when you look at the top leisure destinations, we have some of the most desirable places. You see some of the trends when it comes to travel, especially during times like this. And, people are in this Rediscover America phase where folks are looking for drivable destinations, 5-6 hour quick trips. So you figure, we're within 5 hours of Martha's Vineyard from the New York area, hour from Boston, 6 hours from Philadelphia. Hilton Head is, very close to Atlanta, Charlotte, and we've seen folks drive as far down from Ohio and Chicago to, get to Hilton Head. Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I believe, Carrington was telling me is, within 6 hours of 70% of the U.S. population. Right. So, we're definitely looking at the data and want to make sure that, folks can easily get to our destinations, but we're open to, starting new locations, right? One of the things that drive this business is, events and things that are happening. And, we look to extend seasons in some locations and as well as maybe start new traditions in other places. But right now, you can definitely find our homes in some of the top 10 travel destinations across the country.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things I wanted to ask you guys, in terms of your long-term vision, and I probably should have waited to ask this, but I want to ask it now. In terms of your long-term vision, how many properties do you guys want to have within the next few years?
That's a good question. I would say, a nice manageable boutique portfolio of anywhere from, I would say 25, maybe even up to 100 houses. And okay. I know that's a wide range, but initially when Calvin and I first started, it was probably more like closer to 10 to 15 well-managed properties in a boutique portfolio. But we're getting a lot of interest from friends, family, from investors, and that's why we launched our private equity firm. And people are asking us, when are you going to come out west? I heard about Croatia or Bald Head Island in North Carolina. So, and one of the things we don't do enough as Black people is pool our resources together. So really, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit, honestly, as far as how large our portfolio is and where we're located. But ultimately, we want to be manageable. We want to be boutique. We want to be unique. And so we're not going to be, 1,000 properties, anything like that. So I would say anywhere from 25 to 100 houses, domestically and internationally.
That makes sense. You guys mentioned something about Black folks not pooling resources. So one of the questions I know the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family is going to have, because if I don't ask it, they're going to email and DM me. How did you guys finance the business? And are you buying the properties straight up or are you building them? So if you guys want to touch on first, how are you financing the acquisitions?
Yeah, so I'll let Carrington tell you how he got started, because I think he's got a very all-in approach, which inspired me to do some similar things with some of my IRAs and things that are available for us to use to get started. But yeah, so I reached a point where had a bonus, had a commission, and just started thinking about ways to start buying assets. And I was able to save up, and then also able to start planning for revenue utilization, right? So I put together a goal and a plan to, put aside certain money that I was going to start investing. And when Carrington met me at that homecoming, he asked me for an amount to buy a percentage of McKinley Carter Enterprises. And, I came home to discuss it with my wife, and we thought it was just a unique opportunity to learn, invest, and then also support a young brother who was trying to do something big. And that's the mentality and the approach I think we have to take. Now, everything I'm trying to do is centered around the next purchase, the next big deal, the next big investment. So I think a lot of it's about strategy and planning, personally. But Carrington can touch on, kind of how he got started with his 401k. And then also, his openness to partnership, I think, is a key part of our story.
Cool. Okay. Carrington?
Yeah, so I'll start. So I guess two things I always try to tell people. They say where there's no vision, the people will perish. So it's all about having a vision and having goals. You know, a lot of people are going through life and not necessarily having goals, and certainly not concrete goals. So I think starting with goals gives you a North Star, something to aim towards. So starting with goals, living below your means. So living below your means. Real estate is a capital intensive business. I've sacrificed financially probably a lot more than most, especially early on in my life, whether it's having multiple roommates, whether it's driving older cars or more affordable cars. But all of that collectively allowed me to really make some strong and large, powerful real estate purchases. And also, I started my corporate career in the recession. So summer 2008 is when I started my corporate career. A lot of people were scared of investing at that time. I was buying hand over fist, very aggressively in the market, and also aggressively real estate wise. And what that allowed me to do is build a lot of wealth in the market as the economy rebounded, and also in the real estate market. So having equity in the properties, and then having, you know, a sizable 401k or IRA, as Calvin mentioned, allowed me to make some more aggressive purchases. So again, I'm probably a little bit more aggressive than most, but I think, you know, in order to close the wealth gap, then Black people, we are going to have to be more aggressive and calculated with the risks that we take. So that's, you know, initially it was a lot of self-funded, you know, myself, Calvin, Jeremiah was one of our early partners, Ron Ward, Kenny Green, Brian Scher, some of my parents helped and chipped in as well. And then now as we get on our next phase of growth is when we launched the private equity firm to really grow a lot more aggressively.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, Jay, you know, the houses, you know, we do work with banks. We have one very unique bank relationship up in Martha's Vineyard with Cape Cod 5. They've been phenomenal. We work with a group down in Hilton Head, Ameris Bank. They've been really good to us as well. And we look to build those relationships, you know, as we get going and go through the whole underwriting process, that we start to build relationships. They start to understand what we're trying to do, and they start to work with us. We've learned a lot about banks. I mean, I can tell you, Carrington probably knows more about how banking works, how banking decisions are made, to the point where I think one day we're going to start a bank, Jay, and I'll put that out there now.
That's what's up.
You know, and I think one of the things that we've also done, you know, we will be making a full cash purchase on a house this fall. So we're in a position now with cash that we can start buying houses straight up, which will be great for our cash flow and return to us and our investors. So so it's a mix of levered purchases as well as cash.
Now, do you ever think you guys?
If I could add one more point to that, which is critical as well, is we plowed, especially in the early years, plowed every dime of profit back into the business. So we weren't taking out. We were reinvesting any cash. I mean, our properties throw off a good bit of cash flow. So anything we were reinvesting back into business, which also allowed us to scale.
Well, that's a key point. That was a question I was going to get to. A lot of times when you have partnerships, and I want to touch on that in a minute too, when you have partnerships, if people aren't equally yoked, for example, if somebody needed that money to live, when you guys processes, let's all reinvest our funds back into the business, then you're equally yoked. But if you have somebody that needs the money, that can be an issue. And that was a situation that I was talking to one of my coaching students about. So make sure when you get into business or partnerships with people that you're equally yoked and everybody understands what the objectives are and what the expectations for cash flow or return are up front. Do you ever think you'll sell any of your properties if it made sense, or are you just going to continue to buy and hold?
Jay, that's a good question. I mean, I just want to follow up on your last point. I mean, you know, something that was very key when Carrington sat with me that day at I think it was a Radisson Hotel right across from Hampton's campus. If anybody's from Hampton listening, you know what I'm talking about. You know, that was one of the commitments we made at that table, that if I invested in this business, that we would hold all profits for 5 to 10 years. We would discuss it again at 5, but the goal would be to get to 10 years without taking a dollar out of business and aggressively grow it. You know, we started using words like empire, right? You know, building an empire, you know, not just a venture, not just, you know, a project, but really an empire. And that was going to take kind of an all-in approach. So, you know, we weren't discussing profits. We were discussing reinvesting and putting in more money, you know, year after year. And you're right, that alignment and that partnership is very, very critical. Yeah. And that was key for our success.
Nah, that's a good point. Thanks for highlighting that too. Um, I wanted to ask you guys in reference to, I see what your long-term goal is. Do you guys ever plan on going into the hotel space or multifamily space or just single family?
Um, Jay, do you want me to answer your previous question? Because I
Yeah,
do I want to
yeah,
answer both, but the
yep,
question about selling, because that's
yep,
important as well.
yeah,
So with real estate's a long money game. You know, it's great to get the monthly income from long-term tenants, the weekly income, the weekend income. But just like most things in this country, real money is made from capital gains when you
exactly.
sell stuff. When you
Hmm.
sell stuff. So I mentioned earlier, I originally got into real estate in Dayton, Ohio, scooping up, single family rental houses. And when the market rebounded, they appreciated rapidly. So just advice to your group and other people, you can't be afraid to sell and take some of that profit.
Yeah,
Sometimes, we want to avoid paying taxes or whatnot, but if your house has appreciated, 2, 3x since you
yeah,
bought it, it might be time to take some of that profit and reinvest in larger stuff that
uh,
throws off more cash flow and that'd be more valuable. So to answer your point, we sold probably most of our single family houses that were in Dayton, Ohio that we, quite a 3x our investment on because we bought it at so low. So we have sold quite a bit of those single family houses initially and our vacation rental homes as well. We haven't sold any of the vacation rental homes yet that are under the Getaway Society portfolio, but
okay,
part of our strategy with our private equity fund is to sell some of the houses in the fund that our fund owns. So we
gotcha.
will be selling those opportunistically over the life of our private equity fund.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, oh, I'm sorry, you about to say something?
And then your
Yeah,
other question, refresh me on your second
I
question.
don't even remember it either.
Okay.
Don't even worry about it. I'm sure it'll come up.
It'll
Uh,
come up. It'll come up.
it'll come back up. And I'm not even going to edit this part out either, fellas. So now
It's all good. Conversation's flowing.
that's it. It's flowing. I wanted to ask you guys in terms of raising capital. Don't want to necessarily get too much in the chop yet, but I wanted to ask you guys in terms of raising capital. There's been some Tulsa real estate fund, which is going through some issues. Has that type of bad press or bad news affected what you guys are doing in terms of raising capital?
Carrington, you want me to take it or you got it?
I'll start and then you could jump in. So I'm not intimately familiar with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. Obviously, I've heard it. I assume since it's more of a crowd-funded approach, it's under Regulation CF. So
Right.
we went the private route with accredited investors. So in order to be an
Gotcha.
accredited investor, $200,000 household income for a single person, $300,000 annual household income for a couple, or $1 million net worth. So all of our investors are private accredited investors.
Gotcha.
It's mostly, friends, family, colleagues, word of mouth, a referral to someone, that's 2 degrees separation, 3 degrees separation. So we've gone that route. So there haven't been any negative publicity that spilled over into what we're doing because
Okay.
often the people who we're talking to, it's a warm referral.
Gotcha.
It's a warm referral. Somebody who's heard of us or who was referred to us, who's thinking about getting into real estate. So, and it's been interesting. Well, we could probably talk, a whole day about that process. Calvin, you want to add anything else to that journey?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a very interesting journey. You go to, your family, your friends first, and you have a conversation very, very early. And, and you're looking for confidence. I think our very first investor in our fund was a HBCU president. And that gave us like tremendous confidence, for
Right.
somebody who we quote constantly about dreaming those small dreams and,
Mhm.
dreaming big and doing big things, for them to come back and write you your first check. And that just kind of took us, to just a level of confidence that we had the right idea, that we were up to something. And
Right.
and from there, every yes feels good. Every no is fuel.
Mhm.
For us to continue educating and showing folks the success we're having, and hope that if it's not with us, that they eventually invest, in their own thing or in someone else down the road. But our goal, honestly, is just to see people do more investing and do more supporting of each other. I mean, closing this wealth gap it's a priority for us. And we're just one component, one little piece, but we're doing our part. So we're going to keep reaching out to folks and keep having conversations, and we hope as many folks can come on the journey as possible. But it's going to be successful, and it's going to be great.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it. If you don't mind me asking you guys, how many people are, or groups or companies are in your private equity, have invested in your private equity firm? Like roundabout number.
Yeah, so we have about 51 investors right now.
Okay.
And again, we started this journey about 2 years ago. We raised probably about $500,000 in the last quarter alone. Given everything going on, I think that's pretty exceptional for folks for folks to see what we're doing. To be in the travel hospitality space with private luxury homes right now is almost like hitting the lottery, because it's what everybody's looking for as hotel stays decline, and folks look for cleaning standards to be at an all-time high. These are things that private luxury homes can easily provide. So we're peaking at the right time with our fund and with our overall business model.
Now that makes a lot of sense too. And I think one of the things that with the Tulsa real estate fund, I think one of the drawbacks that they had is that they have so many investors with small dollar amounts that now it's hard to service. So if people aren't accredited and may not understand exactly what they're getting into, then the customer service surrounding that type of entity is going to be a lot different in terms of the customer service and things that you guys are going to have to do with your 51 investors. So I think that's a big difference there, because I think their minimum block is only $500. So do you guys have a minimum block for investment?
Yeah. So when we started out, our minimum block was $25K.
Mm-hmm.
Now our minimum block is $50K.
Okay.
And that can increase before the end of the year. Just kind of given the momentum and where we're at and how well things are going.
Now, do you allow groups to come in with say it's 10 guys that put in $5K a piece and they come in as one entity? Do you guys allow that?
I think as long as they follow the accredited guideline best practices, and they all are accredited, and they form an LLC, then it's possibility for them to join the fund.
Okay. All right. So go ahead,
Jay. I think both approaches are needed in order to truly close the wealth gap. I think you need the crowdfunding approach, where you have people who can put in $50, $25, $100, $1,000. And then I think you also need the accredited investor approach, where you're tapping into, directors, executives in corporate America, people who are at that level and who have the means. I think, that two-pronged approach is what's really is going to get us to a new level economically.
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things I wanted to ask you guys, in terms of your investors, are they primarily African-American investors, or is it just a mixture of anybody?
Yeah, so I would say right now we're at about 98% African-American investors, which is great.
Okay, cool. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about, I did a show probably about 8-9 months ago, to be or not to be a Black-owned business. That was the title. Do you market yourself as a Black-owned led equity fund, or do you market yourself as, hey, this is who we are, but we just happen to be Black? Where do you fall with that? So, and I know there's two schools of thought. Some people don't want to be known as a Black firm. They just want to go and do good business. And by the way, I'm Black. Or do you market yourself as a Black private equity firm?
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with Getaway Society, and then we'll start with East Top Capital, the private equity firm.
Okay.
So with Getaway Society, we've never, gone out, waving the flag. This is a Black-owned business. This is a Black-owned business. Right. First and foremost, we invested in product in the right locations and delivering the best guest experience. That's what we're really focused on. Yes. Obviously, people in our network, some articles in Black Enterprise and other platforms that might have been published talked about us as HBCU grads, really leading the way in the vacation rental home space. So we've had media coverage in that aspect, but initially we've never gone out and kind of waved the flag.
Gotcha.
The world has changed in the last, since Memorial Day, the last 4 or 5 months due to a variety of reasons with social unrest. And it's now on the 6 o'clock news every day about the inequalities in this country. So you have a lot of people, whether it's private citizens or corporations or nonprofits, who are more interested in supporting Black people, Black communities, and Black-owned businesses. So Calvin and I have talked a lot about different approaches to put our brand on display or to how we want to be seen in the public. We're still kind of deciding on that specific approach, but it's going to be an evolving process.
Understood. Calvin, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what Carrington said was spot on. I think we don't certainly hide the fact that we're Black owned. We've received tremendous support from other HBCU grads who have seen our articles and who have reached out to us. Different organizations, fraternities, sororities, have supported us, and they look to continue to support us. Colleagues look at it as an inspiration and a motivation to be able to have a corporate job and be able to do all this stuff, and
Right.
they see it as a sense of pride. And so I'm happy to continue sharing the story, and we want to make sure that folks just have access to good quality luxury private homes. We've had support from folks of all different races and backgrounds, and we've gotten on the folks, and they found out we were Black, and it's been interesting, and they've been excited, and we hadn't had any bad experiences thus far, and so we just continue to offer a great product, and we welcome all customers of all colors to experience what we're doing here at Getaway Society, and also invest in East Chop. We're open to folks who want to be allies and support what we're trying to accomplish here.
Nah, that makes a lot of sense, guys, because I know, like I said, sometimes that can it can be a plus or a minus. So I'm in the process. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Beatrice Dixon. She owns the Honey Pot.
Okay.
All right. So she's scheduled to be on the show in a couple of weeks. And, she got big blowback from her Target commercial saying that, maybe one day some other young Black girl can aspire to do this too. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Yeah. And the great thing about what happened was the community stepped up and supported her. And she actually did more sales after she was getting some negative reviews from other ethnicities who thought that she, I guess, quote unquote, overstepped the boundaries. And so I know with today's climate, it's crazy out there right now. It's tenuous at best. And so if you're providing a quality service, which you guys are, I get it, man. Hey, you're Black, you're not trying to hide it, and you're putting in good work, and you're creating an excellent business and more so an experience for your customers. So kudos with that, man. So you guys aren't hiding over there, talking about I'm not Black. Right?
No hiding over here.
No invisible man over there, huh? Cool.
Hey Jay, you can catch me in a Hampton t-shirt every day. every day.
You got it on under your shirt now, right?
Yep, absolutely.
That's what's up. I wanted to segue into East Chop Capital. And can you tell us a little bit about East Chop Capital? And is that the only thing that East Chop invests in is the Getaway Society properties, or do you do other investments with the funds from that?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll jump in.
Yeah. So initially, as we mentioned, much of our vacation rental portfolio was self-funded. And as more people asked, how can they invest alongside us? That's how we got the idea to create a separate private equity firm No, it's East Chop Capital. East Chop is a section within the town of Oak Bluffs on Martha's Vineyard, which has a lot of African American historical significance. So, and when we initially started the private equity firm, I mean, Calvin and I have always been, private investors. We understand private equity and venture capital. But it wasn't until we really got into it where we realized exactly what it is. And a private equity firm, it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle that allows you to pull private equity, private capital together to do more than you can as individuals. So our first fund is focused on vacation rental homes because that's what we've been doing the last 5 or 6 years. We know that space very intimately. But we already have ideas for future funds. So it could be, it could be a fund focused on supporting Black and women-owned businesses. It could be investing in fintech. It could be, buying minority ownerships in sports franchises. It could be supporting Black-owned restaurants. The opportunities are endless. So to answer your question, vacation rental homes is our first fund, but I mean, we already have ideas to launch funds 2 and 3 next year. So we're excited. We brought on a new associate this year, Leonard Allen Smith, who's also a Hampton grad and is coming to us from KPMG. So, the more investors trust us with their capital and their resources, the more that we can do together. So, yeah, Calvin, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, it's a vehicle. I mean, this is just getting started. I mean, our investors are just amazing in themselves and the input and the different industries and experience they have. So, I mean, our investor retreats where we're talking about what's next, what's the future, what's hot, we're having conversations on everything from energy to biotech to pharmaceuticals, where should we be investing? What should we be doing? And I think this is what we've been missing in our community is a room. Like Carrington and I talk about these, rooms that are created, or we see all these amazing things happening and they trace back to some room or some moment where, some folks got together and had a conversation and shared their story and decide to come together and do something big as a group. And so what we're doing with eCommerce is we're creating an amazing room where folks will invest with each other, alongside each other, into each other and their own private ventures and businesses. And we've seen a lot of that happen already with our current investors. Last November, we had a retreat down in Hilton Head where we had 25 investors come down, and we had guest speakers that came in. Once we gave our update on the fund, we had folks talk about how to own a McDonald's franchise, because we have some franchisee owners in our fund, how to buy a FedEx route, which many didn't know were available for purchase. So, I mean, we're educating. We had Charles Harvey, ex-executive of Johnson Controls, who's now one of the minority owners of the Milwaukee Bucks, came in and told us his story, down to the T on how he got involved in sports ownership. And that inspired a lot of us. And so we added that to the goal list, something that we can do now, because now we heard the story and we know it's possible. So, a lot of this vehicle, like Karen talked about, we'll make money, but we'll also educate and learn, and we'll do more than is really imaginable as an individual. But it's starting to feel a little easier as a group. And funds 2, funds 3, and we have countless ideas and vision. Like Carrington said, got to have vision, got to have strategy, got to have goals, and East Chop Capital's got a lot of those. And so we will start investing. I mean, Carrington and I privately invest in several other businesses. We will start exploring that through East Chop as well. Okay. We're just extremely excited, Jay.
No, that's great, man. Because what you guys are, I'm sorry, go ahead, Karen.
Speaking of the businesses, that was your earlier question where we're going to get into hotels. You asked about hotels earlier. You asked about, were we investing in hotels, or were we going to do hotels, or I think that was a question we skipped over earlier. Calvin, you want to talk about your hotel?
Yeah, so I'm in 2 hotel deals, Jay. I jumped into 2 hotels. I think I have a Hilton and a Marriott in the Maryland area. And I jumped in those pretty early before I got involved. Matter of fact, that was my first investment using my self-directed IRA, which is something in a vehicle many folks and your listeners should explore and should learn more about utilizing to get into things like East Chop and other ventures. But yeah, so I jumped into a Marriott in Maryland, learned the hotel business in the first 8 months of getting the updates, following the reports, meeting with the ownership and learn that business. So, I mean, interesting, time now with hotels and everything with COVID. Right. I wouldn't probably execute a new deal now, but I do think as things improve, Hotels right now probably going to be, for sale and maybe cheap.
Right.
And there might be a gamble and might be a strategy in the right locations when travel and vaccines and cleaning practices and different standards become known. I think hotels will come back and play a part in travel hospitality. So I'm looking to see what these two that I have in my portfolio do. But we're always open to exploring new opportunities. But the whole point of that story, I think, is I invested in them so I can learn them. And now that I know them, now I know what I'm looking for. And now I've shared that with our group. And now, so when we do make our hotel play, we've got someone that understands the space, understands how they work, and how to maximize their return.
Nah, that's a lot of good common sense right there. Learning an industry before you start investing in it, and that way you'll understand what you're doing. I wanted to jump back real quick in terms of your equity business, East Job Capital, and in terms of your investors. Unfortunately, a lot of times us Black folk are skeptical of things, right? And so my question is, how do you manage and put stop gaps, not stop gaps, but how do you manage your investors in terms of, I don't know, I guess you guys do quarterly reports, updates, and things of that nature. And are they able to look at your books at any time? So I just want to find out how you guys manage that aspect of the business when people are investing with you guys.
Sure, I'll start. So I'll use one of Calvin's famous quotes is, you got to spend time with people.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of our investors, we spend a lot of time with a lot of our investors, getting to know them. They're getting to know us. Calvin and I each talk to our investors at least twice a day. At least we're talking to one of our investors at least twice a day. Email, text, phone call. They're asking about the business. They're sharing an article that they saw, they thought about us. They're looking at investment on their own. They're asking our advice. So there's so much transparency. There's so much open door policy. So I think that gives them the comfort and the confidence that they need, that we're going to do what's in their best interest and what's best for the business. So,
gotcha.
So we have their trust. We have their trust, and we work to get it, and we don't take it for granted. And it takes 5 seconds to ruin a reputation and to lose someone's trust, and we take that very seriously. Now we're an open book. We're an open book. Like I said, investors are talking to us all the time. We send out quarterly updates to our investors. We do an annual retreat. Obviously, we file taxes and send out our balance sheet, profit and loss statements, and things like that. So we're an open book, and I think Calvin and I, by nature, are good guys. We're good people. But we're not trying to defraud anybody. We're not trying to get over on anybody. Matter of fact, we try to deliver 5x more value than what we were given. And one last thing I'll say, and Calvin can jump in. We put in the work before we launched our fund. We were in the vacation rental space 5 or 6 years before we asked, before we launched our fund, before we asked outside investors for a dime. So we're experienced. We know the industry. This is not a startup. We're scaling a proven model and a proven business. So I think there's also confidence, comfort, and trust in that as well.
Yeah, no, excellent point. The only thing I'll add that, Jay, is that technology has also made things a lot easier for us to maintain, a high level of communication. Many of our investors follow us on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and we use those channels wisely, to show the work we're putting in. Carrington in the last 10 days has been back and forth to Tennessee twice, looking at properties, and he went down with his checkbook, and we made that very clear on what we were doing. We showed them the houses. We got feedback from our investors via Instagram post and following his IG stories. And again, like you said, I pick up any investor call at any time. I'm so appreciative for their trust and their capital, and I take it extremely serious that they've given us that opportunity to help them build wealth. And I think that's what this is all about. So yeah, at any given time, they, a day or night. And we also, one thing that we do is that, we really are eager to get our investors into the homes as well.
Right.
So when we have our retreats, they're at the location of the houses so they can see it, touch it, feel it. So it's like a win-win. You know, they're being exposed to their product and the houses they own with us. So, you know, spending that time with them in that element builds just amazing relationship and trust. So we're excited.
What does the infrastructure look like of your business? Do you have additional help and assistance? I know when we talked off air, you've actually worked and helped other businesses start up and actually obviously provide them work by them helping cleaning your houses and prepping and all of that type of stuff. But what is your overall management system, not system, but what does it look like? Is it you two guys? You have any additional help?
Yeah.
How does that look?
I'm happy to jump in here. So, you know, this is one of the exciting parts about what we do, Jay. I mean, honestly, you know, when you think about Martha's Vineyard, right, where we have 3 houses in our portfolio,
right.
You know, we've been able to really create and start businesses, and especially businesses for people of color. You know, for folks, you know, who are, you know, immigrants, or, you know, folks who aren't from the island, you know. So we've been able to really help them grow, start, and expand their businesses. So we have property managers in each of the locations. We work with realtors who we build amazing relationships with, who are always looking out for us. You know, many of them have become investors in the business as well. So now they're you know super incentivized to help us grow, and it's just a win-win opportunity for us in the communities. And we have two individuals on the vineyard, you know, Dougie and Archie, who have you know, really started their first LLC and have expanded them to our network of other homeowners on the island now. And now they were able to break away from their hourly jobs and run their own business full time. So that, I mean, that's the stuff that excites us, because like that's us doing right for our investors, but also, you know, we're finding other ways to bridge the wealth gap for everyone involved, you know, even folks that can't invest, but that they can actually work with us. And it's just exciting. So yeah, so Hilton Head, same thing, right? You know, we're working with local electricians and trying to find, you know, who's doing the work, you know, and how can they be, you know, kind of part of our team, and it becomes a family. You know, Carrington and I go up to the vineyard and spend Easter, you know, with our vendors, and we invite them over when we have guests and investors. Matter of fact, those 2 guys I mentioned were at our investor, you know, we had a little outing on the vineyard with some investors, and they came by and they got a chance to meet the investors. So, I mean, we're about building a community and doing something really big.
Yeah, that's positive, fellas. I respect that. Much kudos to you guys, because a lot of times, unfortunately, business is only just about money for some people, but it's got to be deeper than that, man. I respect what you guys are doing and appreciate that. You guys recognize and understand that it's more than just making money, man. So how many people can you help? How many people can you serve in the process? Obviously, we all want to make money. That's why we're in business. But there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. You guys are doing tremendous with that, man. I don't want to hold you guys too much longer, but I wanted to ask real quick. Tell me about 10 years from now. I know you're talking to having anywhere from 25 to 100 properties in your portfolio. Tell me about 10 years, future pace for me. What's that going to look like? Or what do you hope it looks like? And where are you going to be? You going to be in Bora Bora somewhere, Carrington, chilling on a hammock, or what?
Nah, you know what? I should probably chill more than I do, but I don't. It would be nice, but I should probably chill more than I do. But I'm focused on working as much as I can while I still can. I'll start, Nick. Calvin, you can chime in. So 10 years. So the vacation portfolio, would love it to be, you know, a nice boutique, 25 to 100, luxury home, domestic and international portfolio, especially if we can make it over to the motherland in Africa and really have a strong footprint there. That would be nice. The Caribbean, Latin America, Europe as well. So domestic and international, 25 to 100 houses. I would also like to be a well-known financer of real estate development. Cool. So in the Black community, we can do real estate. We can do houses, we can flip, we can sell, we can rent, but development requires a much more, a stronger vision and a much more strategic approach. Right. And a lot of it is capital intensive. So I would like to be a well-known financer of real estate development domestically across the country. And then I would say lastly, I would like to manage a multi-hundred millions of dollar fund for Black-owned businesses, Black and minority-owned businesses under East Shop Capital. So, and Calvin and I, not only are we investors, but we're also entrepreneurs. So we're in there rolling up sleeves, doing the work. And I think that gives us a unique lens through which to view businesses, gauge the viability of their product or service, and then better help them be successful. So really looking forward to managing much larger sums of money and deploying it to help Black and minority-owned businesses.
Sounds good. How about you, Brother Calvin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that last part there is probably where I'll start. I mean, I think East Shop Capital has got the, has the capacity and certainly the momentum to be, hundreds of millions of dollars fund. I'd love to say the B word and call it $1 billion fund one day, because they're out there, right? And I think, it is possible. But I think what Carrington's talking about, what we can do not only in our community, but just in the world, right? I mean, I just want to see the world be a better place. And I think investing and, fueling economies and, being purposeful about certain communities and cities that need our help, that need, technology and infrastructure, these are things that can be part of our strategy and also make us money.
Right.
But, they could do the right thing that creates a better place for my kids and for, our investors' children and just the future in general. Personally, just want to continue growing, and inspiring, right? I mean, I've been blessed to be motivated and inspired by some great entrepreneurs. And, I am where I am today because they pushed me off the ledge and told me to do it. Right. And so I just want to continue to do that for others and see many folks follow our footsteps. I mean, I'd love to see a significant interest of HBCU grads and grads from other schools, get into the private equity space and see people of color really, try to dominate this like we do other industries and things. So, yeah, I mean, I would say in 10 years, just want to continue to be happy, healthy, and, see this portfolio of homes grow as Carrington mentioned, and then just really just be impactful, right? Impactful on society and for the future of the world.
Cool. That's beautiful, fellas. I wanted to ask you, last question. Well, next to last question. In terms of the size of your portfolio, your real estate portfolio, what range with all your properties would that be in dollars?
Yeah, so the value of our portfolio, our vacation rental portfolio is about $8 million. Okay. It's about $8 million. And we do a little bit over $1 million in revenue.
Okay, cool.
And based on the investments that we've had and our fundraising efforts to date, and we're under contract on 2 houses. We'll probably likely purchase 2 additional by the end of this year. Cool. And the momentum is really growing. So I think we'll likely be able to double the value of the portfolio next year. And then the revenue probably at least double, if not more. So we're really strongly in the growth phase right now. And I mean, COVID-19 has certainly turned the world upside down in a lot of different ways. And, we're empathetic to those who have been adversely affected by COVID-19. But, as it relates to the vacation rental home space, this has boded well for the vacation rental home space.
Right.
And I think our investors are recognizing that. And that's why we're going to build on this momentum and really aggressively grow.
Yeah, I was talking to you guys before. My daughter now, she and her girlfriends get ready to fly. I think they're going to Denver next week to hang out and stuff like that in an Airbnb. So, it's funny. So I always talk about having income sources in any type of economy. Good economy, bad economy, and a neutral economy. If you can have income sources in all 3 of those economies, you can't lose. Last question, guys, and then I'm gonna let you share all your social media contact information and your resource, your links and all that good stuff. One of the things that I always tell all guests on here, so we have a very responsive audience at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. So I'm just gonna say it while we're on the air. BEB family, make sure you support these brothers out here. They're doing positive things in business and for the community. So please make sure that you support these brothers. Let me just ask you real quick, how can we get in touch with you, or where can we follow you on social media?
So I'll start. Calvin L. Butts Jr. on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with anyone. Just please mention this show or please mention this podcast so I know where the connection started. I'm on Instagram at justbucb, and then our email addresses Calvin at eastchopcapital.com or just Calvin Butts Jr. at Gmail.
Cool. How about, don't forget Getaway Society? What is that?
Yep. Well, I'll let Carrington give you all the handles for that. We got tons of exciting.
All right, give me the most important.
So for our vacation rental portfolio, at getawaysociety.com. We're on the Vineyard. We're in Hilton Head. We're in the Poconos, and we'll be in Gatlinburg and Orlando by the end of this year. Getawaysociety.com, at Getaway Society on Instagram. It's on Facebook. Me personally on Instagram, at Carrington M. Carter at Carrington M. Carter. And in my website, carringtonmcarter.com, you can contact me as well, where I do offer some services, wealth strategy consulting services, real estate consulting, business coaching, and also if anyone is looking to get in the vacation rental space, I teach people how to do that as well.
That's what's up. All right, last question, fellas. Let me start off with Calvin. He's been kind of quiet a little bit, but I'm gonna get him now. If you had the opportunity to speak to one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I would say my father. I don't think he died in 2008 when I got married, and I started my first company around that time. And I don't think I just want to give him an update. I just wanted to know where I'm at and what I'm doing. Living.
Well, just one. It didn't have to be both.
Yes. It'd be my dad.
My dad. Okay. Cool. How about you, Carrington?
Man, there's so many. There's so many right now. Because I read a lot, I study a lot. There are a lot of people. I'm gonna go with Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Doctor. Obviously, his philosophy and his thoughts on where we were. And then how his philosophy started to change right up until his assassination, and really preaching economic empowerment and working together. Would love to pick his brain. I hate that term, but would love to pick his brain. So I'll say Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Cool. Yeah, we get that one a lot, but that's good. Is there anything I left out that I should have touched on, guys, before we close on out? Anything you guys had to impart or say that I may have skipped over?
No, I'll just say one thing, man. I mean, thank you for what you do for your listeners. Thank you for what you do to inspire, folks like us and those that are coming up behind us. Just continue your platform. I mean, I think this conversation and many others from your show, past, future, and present, are just much needed. And so, just thank you for what you do, Jay. Thank you for everything.
Appreciate it, brother. Most definitely.
Oh, and the last thing I'll say, I know it's primarily, platform for Black entrepreneurs, but I'm sure that there are many others who watch it.
Yeah.
But I would just say, for all the entrepreneurs, keep doing what you're doing. I know it's not an easy road. Continue to go out there, take risks, take calculated risks, partner, work together, because it's needed. The entrepreneurs are needed out on the road, building new products and services, paving the way. And, entrepreneurs are the business leaders of the future, which are going to help close the wealth gap. And I think that that's really what's needed. And that's what we're dedicated to. And I hope that others are as well.
Man, I want to thank you guys for sharing your time. I know it's valuable with the BEB family. Look, guys, we got each other's numbers on the outside. Anytime you have anything coming up, any news or whatever, please reach out. You can always come back on the platform. We love to have you back on. Let us know how you guys are progressing and things of that nature. But I really appreciate you guys sharing not just your time, but your expertise and experiences with the BEB family. I appreciate y'all, man. All right, guys.
Thank you, man.
Y'all be good. I'll be in touch.
All right.
All right, fellas. Peace. That was an amazing show with Mr. Carrington Carter and Mr. Calvin Butts Jr. Getaway Society. Before I give my takeaways, guys, let me just share all my social media contact information and my entrepreneur resource links. First and foremost, at the top of the show, I mentioned my new book out, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. You can go to anewblackwallstreet.com, pick yourself up a copy. Print version $14.95. The digital version is $9.95. Now, if you need additional assistance building your successful, sustainable e-commerce business, check out my new flagship program titled Brand Builder Academy Elite. You can go to bbaelite.com. It's a 15-week module that takes you from point A to Z to building a successful brand, be it a physical products brand or a digital products brand. Just go to bbaelite.com, use the coupon code BBAELITE100, and you'll save $100, and it's only $97, pound for pound, my best program out there. Also at the top of the show, I mentioned 2 platforms I've created to circulate dollars in the worldwide black economy. The first one is besmartbyblack.com. If you are a black product producer that wants to connect and sell your product to black consumers worldwide, upload your product information. It is free. besmartbyblack.com. Now, if you're a freelancer, if you do anything on Fiverr.com or freelancer.com, I've created a platform for you called hireblackfreelancers.com, HIRE, blackfreelancers.com. Once again, put your information on the platform. It is free, and you can connect with black consumers and black businesses that want to hire black freelancers. Now, my social media contact information, I'm going to read this off real quick. Anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, Instagram, jjonesforreal, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL, YouTube, just go to YouTube, family, and type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, hit the like and subscribe button. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. Yes, the show is on YouTube, but there's additional content on my YouTube channel. LinkedIn, just look for J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And if you want to be included in the BEB text line for notifications and reminders about special events, text BEB to 555-888, BEB to 555-888. Also, I know that's a mouthful, so just go to bebconnect.com, bebconnect.com. It'll take you to a page on my website, and it would have all the information that I just talked about, my resource links, and my social media contact information. Now, let's talk about some of the takeaways from today's interview with Carrington Carter and Mr. Calvin Butts Jr. One of the biggest things that I took away from this interview was having vision and having goals. And I believe Carrington had mentioned it. Many times our vision and our goals don't equate to our actions. So if we want big visions and we have big goals, those actions that we take to get to that point have to be big. So once again, aligning your actions to your goals. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, it's not going to happen if you don't put the effort into that. But the first thing is you have to create goals so you can set the path to attain those goals. Another thing that really stuck out to me was how the idea, the impetus of the idea of building Getaway Society came about. So Carrington talked about going skiing in the Poconos, and he realized that they were spending $3,500 for several days stay. And of course, the light bulb went off, and he said to himself, why don't I create or build a place here? And now I can start generating those type of revenues. And from that inception or that concept, now you have getawaysociety.com. Also, another thing that I really wanted to point out was about financing the business. So I believe it was Calvin that spoke about buying assets and revenue utilization. So many times when we have disposable income, instead of buying depreciating items, you need to talk about buying assets. What's something that's going to be an asset to you in the future, be it stocks, be it bonds, be it real estate or whatever, but buying assets. You want to buy things that are going to give something back. I always talk about feeding the beast, meaning that if I have a business that's running well, I need to feed that business so that business can feed me. So you always want to focus on buying assets. Man, I could go on and on for days because this was an amazing interview with two amazing young brothers. So the next time you look to vacation, make sure you check out getawaysociety.com and support these brothers as they do what they do, guys. Now, I say this each and every week, family, but I mean it, and it comes from the bottom of my heart. Every episode that we drop get more and more downloads, and that's attributed specifically to you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the blog, and once again, the movement, because it's about building an economic power base in the Black community. And that's something that we all need to focus on right now, especially in these trying times with the economy and also the social implications that are going on right now with the election and everything around that. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.